This AITV News Explainer looks at how the Trump administration's drive to shrink the federal government is landing hardest on one group, Black women. For generations, federal employment has been a reliable route to the middle class, especially for Black families shut out of private sector opportunity. Steady paychecks, pensions, and protection from overt discrimination made government work a powerful engine of mobility. That engine is now sputtering. Since President Trump began his second term in January 2025, a string of cost-cutting orders has pushed thousands of workers out the door. Because Black women hold 12% of federal jobs, almost twice their share of the overall labor force, every round of layoffs slices deeply into their ranks. Between February and July 2025, Black women lost an estimated 319,000 jobs in the public and private sectors, and saw more than 300,000 leave the labor force entirely. They were the only major female demographic to post a significant net loss in that span. Much of the damage traces back to a new entity created on Inauguration Day, the Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE. Framed as a war on waste and reportedly inspired by Elon Musk, DOGE is carrying out the goals of Project 2025, a conservative blueprint to shrink federal power. By late August, nearly 200,000 federal employees had departed. Another executive order struck at diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility programs. On January 20th, all DEAI offices, trainings, and contracts were dismantled government-wide. Black women staffed many of those roles, so when the programs vanished, so did their jobs. The purge spread further, ensnaring employees who had merely participated in DEI activities, and reviving the corrosive notion that Black professionals are DEI hires, a phrase used to question their credentials. The chill is leaking into the private sector, where some companies are now shelving their own diversity initiatives, mentorship tracks, and leadership pipelines. As one policy shift begets another, the economic fallout widens. The closure of the Minority Business Development Agency adds another blow. For decades, the MBDA helped minority entrepreneurs secure contracts and capital. Without it, a key tool for wealth building in Black communities disappears. Legislation has compounded the strain. The One Big Beautiful Bill Act, signed July 4th, caps student loans for graduate and professional degrees. That makes high-cost programs in medicine, law, and other fields harder to reach, threatening future generations' upward mobility. Housing stability is also at risk. Repealing the Affirmatively Furthering Fair Housing Rule in February removed a safeguard that required localities to combat discriminatory patterns, a move critics say will widen the Black-white home ownership gap. Dr. Mariam Rashid of the Center for American Progress calls these changes a systemic assault cloaked in bureaucratic policy, warning that generational mobility is being cut off at the knees. Losing a federal job isn't just a lost paycheck. It erases pensions, health benefits, and the means to fund college for the next generation. Nowhere is the pain clearer than in Maryland's Prince George's and Charles counties, the two wealthiest Black-majority counties in America, where thousands of residents rely on federal paychecks. Local economies built on secure government salaries are suddenly fragile. Nationally, the Black unemployment rate climbed to 7.2% in July. Gender economist Kadeka Roy isn't surprised. Black women are the canaries in the coal mine. The exclusion happens to them first. Taken together, agency downsizing, the demolition of DEIA and business development programs, tighter student loan limits, and looser fair housing rules, these policies amount to a multi-front economic shock. Analysts warn the repercussions won't stop with black women or even with black families. Weakening a segment that has long buttressed the federal workforce risks undermining the broader economy as well. The numbers are stark, but the stakes are human. Careers disrupted, pensions forfeited, and community wealth eroded. As the federal government recedes, the question now is who will bear the cost. For black women, that answer has already arrived. In the wide rangelands of the American West, an old conflict is getting a loud, airborne twist. Gray wolves, reintroduced in the mid-1990s and now rebounding, sometimes prey on cattle, leaving ranchers frustrated and conservationists searching for a middle ground. In 2022 alone, wolves killed about 800 farm animals across 10 states. One California ranch lost 20 cows and 40 calves in a single season. A research team from the United States Department of Agriculture is responding with drones, thermal cameras, and a deliberately chaotic playlist. After dark, the aircraft skim above pastures, scanning for the telltale glow of a wolf. When a predator appears on the monitor, the operator hits play, and the night explodes with sound. AC/DC's Thunderstruck, Five-Finger Death Punch, fireworks, gunshots, even the blistering argument from the film Marriage Story. Wolves, like many wild animals, are wary of the unfamiliar, so the secret is unpredictability. No single track repeats often enough to become background noise. The tactic, known as acoustic hazing, is part of a broader push for non-lethal management. Flashing lights, range riders, guardian dogs, and modified fencing already help, but the drone adds speed and precision. Operators aren't limited to recorded audio. One night, a pilot simply spoke through the loudspeaker, "Hey wolf, get out of here." The startled animal dropped the calf it was attacking and bolted. Early numbers are encouraging. In southern Oregon, wolves killed 11 cows in 20 days before the drones arrived. During the following 85 days of nightly patrols, losses fell to 2. Ranchers report calmer herds that graze freely instead of bunching up in fear, and researchers have documented several attacks stopped in real time. Still, questions remain. Wolves are intelligent and adaptable. Will they eventually ignore the noise? For now, constant variation seems to keep them off balance, but long-term studies are ongoing. Cost is another hurdle. A single drone outfitted with thermal optics and a high-powered speaker runs about $20,000 and requires a trained pilot, an expense beyond many family operations. Scaling up may depend on subsidies, cooperative grazing groups, or technological advances that lower the price. Whatever its future, the project shows how far wildlife management has evolved since the days that nearly wiped out wolves. Instead of choosing between predator and producer, biologists are searching for strategies that let both persist on the same landscape, even if that means blasting heavy metal at 2 in the morning. Out on the range, the night is quiet, until suddenly it isn't. A guitar riff cuts through the darkness, echoing off the sagebrush. Somewhere in the distance, a wolf reconsiders its evening plans, and a rancher sleeps a little easier. The truce is temporary, the experiment ongoing. But for now, Rock and roll, cinematic shouting, and the whir of carbon fiber propellers are giving cattle an unlikely shield and giving the phrase animal deterrent a whole new beat. In the nation's capital, a shift in policy is having immediate and dramatic consequences on city streets. In just the last 3 weeks, U.S. Park Police have engaged in at least 10 high-speed car chases. 6 of those pursuits ended in crashes. This sudden spike is the direct result of new rules for the Park Police, part of a broader surge of federal law enforcement in Washington, D.C., ordered by President Donald Trump. The story begins on August 11, 2025, when President Trump signed an executive order declaring a crime emergency in the District of Columbia. This order brought a significant increase in federal officers to the city. Just 3 days later, on August 14th, the U.S. Park Police were given a temporary but significant change to their rulebook. They could once again engage in vehicle pursuits for a wide range of offenses. This was a major reversal. The Park Police had adopted a much stricter policy after a controversial 2017 incident where 2 of its officers shot and killed an unarmed motorist, Bijan Gaisar, following a chase. In the years since, Park Police were generally only permitted to pursue suspects believed to have committed violent felonies, but now that restriction is gone. The chases in recent weeks have been initiated for minor infractions, things like tinted windows, broken headlights, running a stop sign, and fake license plates. In fact, half of the recent pursuits were for fake tags. The new, more aggressive stance was announced publicly by the Park Police Union, which posted on social media, "If you flee from a traffic stop in D.C., we will chase you, and we will catch you." The policy change also received vocal support from the highest levels. Interior Secretary Doug Burgum thanked President Trump for authorizing the pursuits, adding that the officers had so much fun. At a cabinet meeting, Burgum recounted a story where a suspect allegedly told officers, "You're not supposed to chase us, you're breaking the rules." Burgum's response was, "No, we're back in action." This new federal policy stands in stark contrast to the rules for Washington, D.C.'s own Metropolitan Police Department, or MPD. The D.C. police operate under a much more restrictive policy, which only allows chases if a suspect is believed to have committed a violent crime or is actively endangering the public. Every one of the 10 recent pursuits initiated by the Park Police for minor traffic offenses would have violated the D.C. Police's own rules. The consequences of this policy clash are playing out in real time. One chase saw a driver reach speeds over 80 miles per hour before crashing into multiple cars on Interstate 295. In another, a driver with a child in the car hit a tree and a guardrail. A third pursuit ended only after a car flipped over, narrowly missing a detective. Arrests have been made, and in one case, an unregistered gun was found after a crash. In another incident, 3 minors were arrested after a chase that started in the city and ended in a neighboring Maryland suburb. This situation highlights a broader tension in the city. The Trump administration's stated goal for the federal surge is to make the capital safer, and there are signs it's having an effect on crime rates. The Joint Task Force for the District of Columbia has reported a significant drop in violent crime, and D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser has acknowledged a substantial reduction in carjackings, stating that she appreciates the surge of officers. However, the federal presence has not been without controversy. Mayor Bowser has also spoken of a break in trust between the community and the newly arrived federal law enforcement. While she says the city is strategically using the extra officers, she has also made it clear that D.C. did not request them. Other local officials have been more forceful, calling the federal presence dangerous, unnecessary, and an affront to home rule. There has also been pushback from within the justice system, with D.C. judges criticizing prosecutors for violating defendants' rights and grand jurors refusing to indict individuals in cases brought by federal officers. Public safety experts often caution that police pursuits are inherently dangerous and should be reserved for the most serious situations due to the risks posed to other drivers and pedestrians. Many police departments across the country have been moving towards more restrictive chase policies, not looser ones. So, while the federal surge may be contributing to a drop in some crime statistics, the aggressive tactics, particularly the newly authorized car chases by the U.S. Park Police, are raising serious public safety concerns. It's a complex situation with competing views on the best way to police the nation's capital, pitting a federal push for law and order against local control and community trust.